Back in 2016, we were introduced to a new Netflix series known as Stranger Things. Those of us that started watching it didn't really know what to expect from this 80s set horror drama suspense thriller. But those of us that did sit down and enjoy it, like ourselves, very much enjoyed it. So much so that it came back for not only a second season, not only a third season, not only a fourth season, but it's also on track to release its fifth season on Netflix in spring of 2024. We are super excited for it, but we feel like enough content's out now that we need to talk about it. And in this spooky season, right around Halloween of 2023, that's when we're going to do it. So, joined by first time to the show, Mickey, Little Oso Cosplay, the Beard and I are going to sit down and talk all things Stranger Things. So, check under your bed for that Demogorgon and make sure you don't go riding alone at night on your bicycle. It's time for Season 4, Episode 19, Stranger Danger, right after this. Please, stand by.
Hey there guys, Jay the Nerd Squatch here for Bearded Bear Entertainment, and we here at the team just wanted to give you a quick update from the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA on what we are allowed to do as entertainment journalists. So, entertainment journalists are not on strike. That means that the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA are not requiring us to stop reviewing movies that are releasing now. We cannot, however, discuss films that are struck, projects that were hit right when the strike's begun, and thus have ceased work and production. Therefore, we can talk about things that are coming out right now, like Haunted Mansion, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like Barbie and Oppenheimer, but we just can't talk about the things that the strike is affecting. That would be considered scabbing. Now, with that, TV broadcasters and journalists are also not on strike and therefore can continue their work. Something that we also know from the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA is that they are not calling for a consumer boycott. That means that you should not cancel your subscription services. Do not cancel your streaming. Do not stop going to the movies. They are asking for our support to show that their jobs are valuable. Go support the writers and the actors in what is releasing now. Hopefully we can help all together to make this a better world for both us and the people we look up to bring us this wonderful content, because without the writers and the actors, film and pop culture is nothing. So we here at Bearded Bear Entertainment fervently support the writers and the actors' right to strike and will continue to support them until they are given fair compensation for their work. Thanks guys, and remember, much love. Stay awesome, stay bearded. I'm out of here.
And you're tuned in
No,
to the
Holly,
Bear...
that's my line. You're tuned in to the Bear and Beard podcast. Enjoy the show.
While you're lining up. Well, they're excited.
Oh, shit.
There's a Demogorgon behind you.
Watch out!
Watch out! Oh no! I kind of wish Daphne was here because she was making it move during the live stream earlier, and it just looked organic. She was behind it, and she was making it do stuff like this.
That's funny.
Look, it's holding a pumpkin.
It's trying to eat you.
Stop it, Demi Lovato. Calm down. Calm down. What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Fandomites? Welcome to or back to the Bear the Beard podcast. I am one of your hosts, The Bear. I am joined, as always, by my majestically bearded, faithful co-host, Bearded Brian Guy, The Beard. Grossius Mayo, my guy.
Mayo Brosius, my dude. How we doing?
Doing very well indeed. I'm channeling my inner Eddie Munson today. This is also the costume that I'll be wearing Saturday, and to preserve Halloween. More about that in the announcements. We are not joined by Nerd Squatch. He literally verbatim said, not big enough a fan. So I don't know if that means he didn't like it or if he just didn't watch it. Not sure. But either way, we still love him and we will miss him for this episode. But if you're missing Nerd Squatch very, very much, stick around for Tuesday when our Halloween special comes out. he does join us for that. And sitting in Jay's place of this evening, first time to the show, one of our cosplayers for Beer to Bear Entertainment, Little Oso Cosplay, Mickey. How are you doing tonight, sweetheart?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. I remember when we were sitting around talking about doing this as an episode, Mickey was instantly just like lit up. Like, I'm sorry, say what? You're going to do an episode about what?
I think I know why. I think I know why.
That one seed is why Mickey's here.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you could possibly mean.
Mickey actually also does a Steve cosplay. So
I do.
We need to. I'll put a photo of that right here, right here at the beginning.
No, that's even
We'll
better
show
because
that.
I've done a couple of them, which is also
Yeah.
even better.
we'll throw a photo up there. Huge spook fan, huge Halloween fan. As you will learn, of course, going into the Halloween special, which comes out Tuesday. But Mickey, I know we already did this in our past, but the listeners and viewers' future. Why don't you introduce yourselves to the listeners and fandomites out there?
Yeah, so I am a cosplayer. Mainly was kind of brought in by some friends who did it, and just kind of thought, man, what they're doing is awesome. This seems like fun. Was going to cons with them, essentially being like their handlers for doing contests and things like that. And so I just thought, why not dress up with them? So I started doing that. I tend to specialize with my cosplay being a little bit more of what's the word? Distress, uproot, upchange, whatever you want to say. I alter all kinds of clothes to fit what I want for costume currently. I do make on occasion. I'm still kind of learning and messing with making props. But wigs are also a specialty of mine, and doing makeup. And I wish I could say I'm really great at special effects makeup, but that is not true. Mainly because I'm terrified of it, and not like, ooh, scared. It's more of like a, oh gosh, if I do this wrong, I will
it's gonna look
awkward.
bad. It's gonna be bad.
Right. So, aside from that, I'm a huge nerd of a lot of things. Harry Potter being one of them, as I'm trying to get the ear. Got a lovely tattoo here. I am a Gryffindor. So
Y'all
married
bunch of
to a Slytherin.
Gryffindors.
How that happens, I don't
Hey,
know.
you shut your Hufflepuff mouth over there, all right?
Also the best.
What else? I'm a big fan of Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, all the things. Not as big into comics, but I'm also a huge anime fan. So,
That's fair.
diversity of this. I will try to encourage every person I know to watch One Piece. I am that person.
What's One
Someone
Piece?
who
I've
may
never
or may
heard
What's
not
One
be-
Piece? I don't know what you're talking about. What's that?
Whoever's sitting in this.
Oh,
chat
it's
right now
that
just-
new live action thing on Netflix. That's a brand new thing, right?
that one too. So yeah, that's just a little bit of me. So yeah.
Yep. Mickey has
We're
already
glad to have you on for this episode.
yes, and she's been working with us since about March of this year, doing different events. So if you've been to an event with us, you've probably met her, seen her. Also been helping me at Dog Mud along with Han Brolo, doing our trivias there and stuff like that. So always happy to have you, Mickey. Thank you for being here and for all your assistance. And spoiler alert, shameless plug, Mickey wants to start a podcast, you guys. So we're still talking about that. So you might get more Mickey later, unless of course they don't like you, and then we might just scrap the whole idea.
Right. We're just
You
simply
know.
going to be like, well, the people have spoken, and
We'll listen to everybody but the incels. That's
We
We will
care what
take-
the incels
we
have
will
to
take
say.
all constructive criticism, but we will not take toxic or incel criticism. So at this time, thank you very much for being here. So, real quick announcements. I know I mentioned a few things kind of coming into the episode. So we do have, so this episode drops on the 27th. Tomorrow on the 28th, if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, if you're in the Jackson metro area of Mississippi, come to Dog Mud. Get there early. We're doing trivia. We're doing 3 rounds of trivia. We're doing a costume contest. We're doing karaoke. It's going to be a blast. I'll be Eddie Munson. Mickey's going to be Chrissy. That's where the whole Stranger Things kind of vibe came through. Not what this is for, surprisingly enough. Get to that in a second. Then we also have, if you're in the Biloxi, Mississippi Gulf Coast area, same evening, Jay Nerd Squatch is going to be putting on at the Little Biloxi Theater a shadow cast of Rocky Horror Picture Show. So definitely go in, and it's also a trunk or treat there as well for that. So please go and check that out. Links in the description for all details and purposes for things like that. Tuesday, on Halloween itself, Halloween proper, the 31st, that's when you can find our 4th annual Halloween special, which will also have Mickey in it, where we talked our favorite Halloween movies and some other things that are our favorite things from Halloween. And there'll also be a trunk or treat for the Jackson Metro area at Dogmud. So come out and see us there. That's what that's the Demigorgon. I'm building a portal to the Upside Down. I'm going to stand on the back of my truck and jam out to Master of Puppets air guitar style. It's going to
be great.
Do you think that portal could get me down there?
be because that would be a blast. That would be great. I cannot
wait to see all the photos from this event. I know it.
Oh yeah,
I've already seen how Dogmud is like decked out right now.
Oh yeah,
right.
Looks amazing, spooktastic.
Also, little BTS here. Saturday night, we're gonna film a music video, and for those of y'all listening, I'm doing air quotes. It's gonna be a music video for the intro to the Halloween special, so that is gonna be something very special. Definitely might want to jump on YouTube for that specifically.
Yes.
It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun. Spooky season. And then it's not even over then. November 18th and 19th, we'll be out in Irving, Texas. So if you're in the Irving, Texas area, come to Preserve Halloween. Links to that will also be in the description. That's a humble entertainment event. It's our first Halloween festival. We're going to host some panels, or the guys from Hesitation Station are going to host a panel. I'm hosting karaoke there. We're going to have a table. We're going to have candy and all kinds of stuff. It's going to be really fun. Please come out and see us if you're out in the Texas area. And if you're not, live vicariously through us by following us on Facebook and all that fun stuff. So, all right. I think that's it. I think that's all the announcements. Let's get on to Stranger Things.
Hell yeah.
This show, I got guilted into watching.
Same.
As a matter of fact. So a friend of mine, it had to have been the Halloween after Stranger Things premiere, right? I'm driving through the city I was working in at the time, and I didn't know this at the time, but this one house had built a giant mind flayer and put it in their yard, along with a sign that said, "Welcome to Hawkins." I didn't know what it was, so I took a photo and sent it to a friend of mine who's a huge horror buff. And I was like, hey, is this like supposed to be like the alien from Alien versus Predator or something? Because they look similar, okay? They kind of do, all right? And I was then put on blast, complete, like almost lost my nerd credentials over this incident. And was told, you haven't watched Stranger Things yet? I was like, I've watched some pretty strange stuff, but is that the name of a show? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay. You don't have to yell at me, through text message.
Yes. Yes, you
So, and that's where I was introduced to Stranger Things. I was essentially guilted into watching the first season. I was hooked on the first episode. It was like, dude, Ryder like drew me in. I don't know how she did that, but she did an amazing job of kind of just making the show for me.
I mean, because it's Winona Ryder.
Oh my lot!
I didn't know she was in it.
How did that happen? Sorry,
I didn't know that she was in it until I watched it. I did not start watching this show until season 3 had come out, and everyone's like, "How have you not gotten into Stranger Things?" And I'm not a big into like horror stuff where there's jump scares and creepy monsters. I'm usually bored by these kinds of things. But everyone kept telling me, dude, you're gonna love it. It's nerdy. I was like, it doesn't look nerdy. It looks boring. Like by the trailers alone, I genuinely thought I would be bored. And I watch episode 1 and I'm like, no one told me Winona Ryder was in this. How dare?
How dare they?
Okay, I won't say best mom, because best mom, Jamie Lee Curtis, 100%, and I love that she also has a horror background. So I'm gonna give Winona Ryder. Like Winona Ryder seems like she's the best fun aunt to have around, to have on a cast. So she channels that, and the way she played, their mother in this show, the not completely losing her mind, but like, where'd my son go? That kind of mysteriousness, that was really fun. And she's the reason we have the memorable Christmas lights thing with the letters, and I was just like, that's awesome. I was also drawn in by the fact that they were playing D&D, so because I had just gotten into Pathfinder around this time.
In fairness, she was going crazy, but not because she was crazy, just because no one was believing her and this crazy thing was happening. It was driving her crazy, but she herself was not crazy.
Right.
But yeah, I've loved her ever since Beetlejuice.
Hey!
Where is he? Ah, lame. He didn't pop up.
He's probably in my kitchen at this point. Like, I'm gonna go in there and my freaking refrigerator's gonna be ransacked. Thanks a lot, bro.
But I'll admit, even with Winona Ryder, I was not hooked on even halfway through season 1. I tell people all the time when they're watching this show, you need to watch season 1 because you need to understand some stuff. And it's not to say that season 1 is horrible, but each season gets better and better. Season 2 steps up the ante and it gets so much more better. Season 3 makes season 2 look like dog water. And season 4 blew my little tiny brain.
It's one of those things where season 4 of this show, like, because there's not, let's be honest. We've talked about a lot of shows on our show. And most of the time it's one-offs, it's mini-series, it's stuff like that. We don't talk about a lot of shows that have long runs, unless, we did talk about the animated shows that we talked about. We did that one where it was binge-worthy television shows, but I can't think of a show out there now that in its 4th season is still getting better. That's not to say that you're not doing some amazing stuff as you progress, and that goes for every television show. There are certain things, like there's a reason you're still making the show, right?
Yeah.
So, and you're probably upping the ante a little bit, but not across the board. Not the whole season is a step up from last season. It's normally like, oh, it's kind of like last season, but they did this different and they did this better and stuff like that. The example I'm going to give to relate it back to comic book nerdisms, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., in my opinion, as a Marvel fan, and this may be blasphemy, not as good at the end as it was at the beginning. Did they do some awesome stuff throughout the entire series? Yes, of course they did. But this show ran for, I think it was like 9 seasons. And there's only so much you can get out of Phil Coulson still being alive. So, not to say anything bad about the actors. I loved the show. It's just, it didn't get progressively better. This show did. And it's amazing.
And in that same respect, even the seasons I didn't like season 1, I wasn't very hooked on.
Right.
But the stuff that they call back to, the stuff that season 1 sets up, each season makes the season before it better as well. So not only do they improve as they go, but when you watch the second season, and if you go back to rewatch the first season will have a little more things that are going to make a lot more sense, and it's even more enjoyable to watch. Because I did go back and rewatch season 1, and I actually don't hate it with the full context. The more you know going back to the beginning, you know more, and it's even more enjoyable. But the real magic of this show from season 1 to season 4 is, if you're a fan of any 80s movies, this captures the magic of what makes 80s movies so fun, but now.
Right.
And it has that whole 80s vibe, not just because it's set in the 80s, but just because the soundtrack, the style, everything about it screams this is an 80s movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And the only other show that's done that is Meet the Goldbergs, but that's a comedy show. So,
but even
it's-
that, you can tell, like, I don't know. There's a certain thing I cannot describe in detail about movies from the 80s that I really like Breakfast Club,
never saw it.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, all of these movies. There's an essence to them you can't really describe.
Right.
What?
No, I
He said
said
he's
never.
never
I
seen
never
Breakfast
saw
Club.
Breakfast Club, and Mickey's just like, I can't believe it.
Oh,
like,
I thought you were shaking your head at me. I'm like, did I say
No.
something wrong?
No.
But
No.
there's-
I'm just still blown away by this fact that he hasn't seen one of the like most classic movies.
We'll
of
fix that.
classic movies.
We'll fix that.
I am very much Anna Kendrick's character from Pitch Perfect. I didn't watch a lot of the old 80s movies, and I definitely didn't make it to the end if I did. So
We'll fix that.
Yeah.
But there's like this essence to them that I literally cannot put into words other than it's the 80s movie vibe that even other stuff that's set in the 80s does not capture, but this show does.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, because this show was made by 80s nerds. Like that has a lot to do with it. Like, and shameless plug, go back and listen to it. We did a 2-part series where we interviewed 80s nerds. It was fun. Definitely go back and check that out for all of our favorite 80s things. So, but that's why it feels like that, because these kids, these people that made this show, they were like, look, we were actually nerds. Like we aren't, we weren't born in the 90s to grow up to become nerds that liked the 80s. We were nerds in the 80s and we're making this show. So we know what we would like to see. And they've talked about it in interviews before about how special this show was for them to create. And
Absolutely.
the team even bringing Hawkins to life in a town. Like they actually built a little replica Hawkins in the city that it's based off of. And I'm just like, that's passion. You have passion for this project, and I love it. I love it so much.
And maybe I'm thinking of something else. A part of me thought, what didn't this start out as like a comic series of some sort? Am I wrong in that?
Maybe. I feel like there was some kind of source material
I'm currently
for
Googling because I was like, I can't remember if that was correct or.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember there being talks about it being loosely based off of something, but it did want to create comic books because in the comics right now, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have crossed over with the Stranger Things universe.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I only know that thanks to Nerd Squatch, who actually had that as a question in his trivia we did at Alabama. Which one of these 4 popular franchises is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles not crossover with? Stranger Things was on the list, and I even was like, it's got to be Stranger Things. He's like, nope, Star Wars. I'm like, well, yes, but like, but also Stranger Things, right? He's like, no, in the comics right now. I'm like, I want to see Leonardo and the guys take down Vecna. I think that'd be
also. I've now fallen down a rabbit hole.
You went down a rabbit hole
of what this whole series is actually based off of, and now I'm just like,
well, I know that it's very heavily based in D&D, which confuses me because I've never played D&D. Not that I don't want to, I've just never had the opportunity to learn. But I know there's a lot
down
of
here. I'll teach you Pathfinder.
Hell yeah.
It's so much. But so from what I'm seeing, it's based off of, the lore of what CIA experimentations were in the first place. So not necessarily comic book, but just like,
yeah,
history.
Oh yeah, the whole first season was very what's the old conspiracy? I mean, it wasn't a conspiracy theory, it actually happened. It was the
Cold War, right?
The Plus Ultra program.
Yeah.
Where they gave test subjects LSD trying to unlock superpowers. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, and that was during the Cold War.
And it happened. Like, people were drugged. Mm-hmm. And to my knowledge, no one ever gained any superpowers from it. But in this, it's showing, well, what if they
want
did?
Us to think.
If they did, they wouldn't tell us. If they did, they wouldn't tell us. That's all I can say on that.
That's the other magic of this show. There's so many elements happening. You have the horror element of this other factor, of this other world, the upside down. And then you have Hawkins, laboratory.
Mhm.
Is there another name for it, or is it just Hawkins Laboratory?
I think it's just the laboratory.
The shady stuff going on there, and then you find out at the end that all of it's connected.
Oh yeah.
All of it. I actually want to play a clip from the first episode, and I want your guys' thoughts on this. When Will Byers gets kidnapped, what we know from season 4, when we meet Vecna, that every time Vecna appears, there's the sound of those bells.
The chimes. Yep.
And we know what he kind of looks like. We know that he's orchestrated stuff from the very beginning. So do you guys think that it's not a Demogorgon that comes after him, but actually Vecna himself? Take a look.
I think you're right.
I mean, the shape is similar, and you hear those grandfather clock bells.
Which, I mean, he looks like a Demogorgon anyway. Like, you just close this up, and you know,
just close this. Just close these little things.
And that's Vecna right there. You know, kind of. You know,
in a way, yeah.
Without a plume on the front of his face, but
now maybe I just wasn't paying attention well enough. But did either of you guess before it was fully revealed that Vecna and Henry Creel and one were all one and the same?
Yes. Yeah.
When did y'all figure it out and how? Because until it was like plainly spelled out, I was like, my mind was freaking blown.
When I was introduced to for me, which okay. Hold on. I'm gonna do a little horn tooting here, but it's not actually a good thing. I am not surprised by much in television and movies anymore. I can see a lot of stuff coming. It's not a good thing. It's not fun for me. There's very little that surprises me much anymore when it comes to movies. Now, that's not to say there's nothing. Like, no spoilers, of course, but the most recent episode of Loki that I watched surprised the hell out of me. Which I'm still surprised, and I'm more shocked that Disney is still able to surprise me with Marvel stuff. So when I say all that, as soon as I was introduced to the character of Subject Number 1, I knew.
Yeah,
I knew that. I at least knew that he was Vecna. The Henry Creel connection. That came later as I was further introduced to Subject 1.
Yeah.
So I knew as soon as he showed up in 11's past, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's Vecna. That's Vecna right there. How they reached that conclusion was really cool.
I knew he was shady, but I didn't know in what way, and they didn't make him seem like he was powerful. I mean, he seemed like a slave himself, but he was immensely powerful. And then it's just like he was just biding his time.
Yep.
Well, I think for me, when I figured it out, and the reason why I was like you, Brian, I was like, this guy is shady. But the instant I thought that to myself, I was like, wait a minute. First of all, he's not like these other workers that are here. And why is that? And I instantly went down my own, because I'm much like Bear. Like, as soon as I think of one thing, I'm like, this is how it's going to go. And I go down my own rabbit hole of how that's going to diverge and splinter here and there, and how this could possibly this, or this could lead to that, and how the whole plot line is laid out in front of me. So when I started thinking to myself, though, I was like, oh, this guy's a little out there, a little strange. I don't know if I like it. I instantly was like, oh.
There's a reason you're not supposed to like it.
Yeah, it was like the light bulb when it was like, oh.
But for me, I couldn't figure out, because I knew that, I figured out that Henry Creel would eventually be number 1, but I didn't figure out that Henry Creel was the guy as the adult version of number 1, because I didn't think that the laboratory would allow one of their subjects to work for them later on.
The reason why I thought that was doable, how else do you think they're going to get the information that they need?
how else do you think they're going to keep tabs on a superpowered individual?
Yeah.
But then the other question I'd have is like,
It's very, very Suicide Squad-esque. Now that I think about it,
yeah, it's very interesting. It was a great reveal.
it really is. It was a great reveal.
It was.
Yeah,
But-
like I said, like I saw it coming, but how it was revealed was still spectacular. Like even for someone like me, who's like, oh, it's and also it comes from watching a lot of Criminal Minds and Law and Order for me.
Yeah.
So, which kind of to get back to the first season here, just a comment that I had. I loved that this felt like it could have been just a Criminal Minds story. Like if you took out the actual supernatural element of this show, but everyone believed that, and then like the BAU showed up, you'd be like, oh, this is a Criminal Minds episode, and they're misleading us with this Demigorgon thing. There's the local theory that it's a Demigorgon, and it's actually just some creep in the van, in the woods or whatever. It felt very much like that, but it also felt like the Winchesters could have shown up at any time.
Right.
So it just, those two worlds merged so well for this show, especially in the first season, where we didn't get a lot of looking at the Upside Down itself.
Right.
We got very few shots of that. And then we got 11 who actually had superpowers. I'm like, okay, well that blows my, that blows a lot of theories out of the water of what this is going to be. And it just really was really cool how much based off of like all the 80s fear.
I love the bond that the group of kids had. Like,
yes,
I didn't really care much about what the adults were up to other than Winona Ryder, because Winona Ryder.
So I know we're going to
But-
say this later, but favorite character for me is still Hopper. So old Hop. So he was the
Yeah.
only other adult I was concerned about.
Agreed.
Eddie Munson's my favorite character.
Yeah,
Before he was revealed, I would have said Winona Ryder's character, but I'm actually feeling pretty crappy right now because I can't remember her character's name.
well, I mean, because
Joyce.
she played herself so well.
But honestly, I have trouble remembering a lot of the elements from season 1 and season 2 just because season 3 and season 4 were so big.
It's so action packed and everything. Like at that point, you're like,
What happened in season 1? What happened in I know season 1 they were looking for Will, and I remember
Season
like
one, Will gets
things that happened.
Will gets disappeared, and then he comes back.
And there was something with Russia, but I can't even remember the Russia details from season 1. I remember in
there was
season
a very
3,
faint Russian connection in season 1.
Yeah.
Season 3
But
was where they
also-
really explored that one.
The art for each of the seasons
Yes.
oh, it's so
is
good.
just beautiful. And also, although I've been saying it 2 seasons, they actually don't consider these seasons. They consider them their own, like, there's Stranger Things, then there's Stranger Things 2, Stranger Things 3, and Stranger Things 4.
Right.
Mhm.
They don't call them seasons. I mean, to us, they're seasons because it's a show, but they consider it like one long movie in a way.
Yeah.
And it is kind of presented that way because each story picks up the next episode right where it left off. It's not like episodic in any way.
Mhm.
Right. And that's fair. I like you said, the art just and then
Yes.
Stranger 2 was amazing. Like
Just
you got
beautiful.
like the upside and their mind flayer in the background there, and then and it gets more realistic. They stopped kind of with the art-esque, and they were doing artistic things as they progressed forward. But it also showed an evolution of the art from that era as well.
Yeah.
Which was really representative because I mean each of these takes place like I think it's 1 year after the other or something like that, or like within the next fiscal year. And again, just the love that was put into the show, keeping the same actors,
Yes.
making sure that you got young enough looking actors to play children to then grow up into season 4 and look like young adults. And
one of
if
the
you,
things I love the most about it, because it completely reminds me of the Harry Potter series with all the kid
Yes.
actors that they had when they were starting out and continuing on in this journey. But not only that, they're literally growing up with the show and doing all the things with that. Just like that was one of my big, like, I love this so much because it is all the same.
And just like with Harry Potter, like when Harry Potter first started, as opposed to when Stranger Things first started, a lot of these younger actors are not known. They're starting their careers out. But as the show progresses, just as those movies progressed,
Yes.
they become more known. They are having more roles out there. They're really coming into their own, and they're the next generation of big actors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can never remember her name. She plays 11.
Millie Bobby
Millie Bobby Brown goes on to be Enola Holmes.
Yes.
Like,
Amazing.
literally
By the way.
alongside actors like Jude Law and Henry Cavill. Like, her next big thing was that. And I read something the other day that said that she came out in an interview talking about how she was essentially reprimanded, I guess is the best word I can use, on set of Stranger Things for acting too childish. It's like, you hired children.
You're a kid.
What'd you expect?
Right.
Yeah.
But
I always thought that I had
bad
heard
taste
that the
in my mouth,
environment
so-
there was very friendly for the kids.
Yeah.
I hope she didn't get reprimanded. That
Well, and I
Some people
didn't
just shouldn't
far
work
enough
with
into
kids.
it to see who reprimanded her. It could have been parents. It could have been, people that thought like, oh, you're in this professional setting, you should be acting. And people from the show are like, how about you don't talk to my actor like that? Like, that we hired him for real. I didn't read enough detail. I just read that tagline. But yeah.
I'm usually one to ask what someone's favorite character is, but because I have a very strong hot take answer, what is everyone's least favorite character, and why is it not Mike? Because Mike Wheeler is just walking garbage, in my opinion.
Bold of you to assume mine's not Mike.
I have so much hate for that character.
I actually had a character I hated more than Mike, and I can't even remember his name, but it was Max's brother. Like, I get that it was a plot point that he was supposed to be hated, but he did too good of a job for me to.
I loved to hate him, though. Mike Wheeler is presented.
I was like, do we need this? Do we need this? Do we need Stifler's
I needed
mom?
him, and I needed him driving that fucking car because, oh my god, I loved it. I loved that character. Yes, I hated how mean he was, how messed up he was, but that I loved to hate him. Mike Wheeler, my problem with him is they present him as the heart of the group, and I hate every action he takes. I hate how awful he is to 11, and somehow 11's still in love with him. It's like, but it's also accurate for teenagers because teenage love is a mess. People love people they shouldn't love. But man, do I hate Mike Wheeler so much.
I don't care
when
what
they
anyone
said
says.
that he's the heart of the group. I'm like, excuse me?
Nope. Dustin is the heart of that group.
Dustin is the heart.
Dustin is the heart of the group. Dustin built a radio tower to talk to his girlfriend. That's
sing
love.
Never Ending Story. Like,
yes.
Who does that? I do want to play into this though, because first of all, Bear knows this about me, so Brian, you're about to learn something really quick about me and the characters that I love. It's the trauma for me. I love and adore Billy, Max's brother. Oh my, like,
my favorite part of this season was when he got possessed.
No, and that was like, I loved it even more because like you had his whole character development going on, right? Like you had his whole backstory. You understood why he was the way he was, but then you also saw that he was in this like literal stronghold of being possessed because of who he was and because of the trauma that he had and how susceptible he was to everything. And I tell you, like, I'm that person who would go and pick up like a feral raccoon and be like, oh my gosh, I can fix you. It's fine. That's how I felt with him. I was like, he's going to kill me because he's being possessed, but it's fine. It's totally fine. I can fix him. 100%. But to go in with your least favorite, probably unpopular opinion and one that people liked and didn't like. I wasn't a big fan of Robin, which I know
Get
is
out.
crazy. No,
Get
no,
out.
and
Get out.
it's not that I didn't like. I don't know. I just didn't vibe with her as much as I did with every other character. Like even Mike,
That's
I get
fair.
along with to a degree, and it's not like I mind him either. But if I had to go and pick one, and I'm sitting here saying like I love Steve. I love the like banter and friendship that they have. I think that's great. It just wasn't for me. And
To be
Well-
fair, I didn't get on board with Robin until Stranger Things 4.
yeah, I would
So,
agree with that too.
Until the 4th installment, that's when I got on board. I was like, oh, okay, Robin's done some development of character quality. I can get on board, because when she first introduced, she really just seemed like she was going to be that pain in the A mean girl, and I wasn't on board with it. I was like, nah, I'm out.
Maybe it's just because I have friends that are like her. She's not actually mean. Like, all of her mean comments are very much the opposite of what she's saying.
Right.
She cares a lot.
Yeah.
I also love that she kind of questioned, although it made sense to us, the audience, she questioned Steve having so many friends that were these little kids.
I was just fixing to say,
like,
are all of your friends children?
This is why, like, just I call him Daddy Steve, but it's because I literally because he literally is the dad to all the kids, and
He
it
really
just makes
is.
me happy.
But as much as I love his friendship with Robin, his best friendship, I think, is with Dustin. Like,
It is.
Oh my
their
gosh.
bond is everything.
Melts my heart every time.
Him showing up at Chips Ahoy, or whatever the name of the Scoops Ahoy, or whatever it was.
And then having their little like, hey, like, it makes me so happy.
That reminds me of that reminds me of one thing I did really like about that season was the mall. All the mall scenes, because it was very 80s. All the neon, all the just the little carousels and all that. It was very 80s. And I even think that I said when we did our I think it was our Wonder Woman 84 episode, where I was like, did they film the mall sequence in Wonder Woman 84 the same mall that they used for Stranger Things? Because it looks eerily similar. But then I remembered, oh yeah, that's right. They're set in the same like kind of time frame, so it makes sense. But still, I think they did. I really do. Like, how many mall sets need to be built this year? Come on.
But they capture the magic of a mall. Like, even in the 90s, malls have kind of gone down now. People don't so much hang out in malls. But even in the 90s, like, malls were the place to hang.
Yep.
Well, and if you think of like the timeline of it too, it's the same concept of like when we were growing up. As soon as you started turning into your teenage years, like these characters are doing, they want to go and get their jobs. They want to go and be at the mall with their friends, doing nothing but just walking around the mall, you know. And it was something that like really nostalgia wise was like, I love this because this is what I wanted to do when I was a kid growing up in the 90s. And I know it was like that in the 80s because my dad talked. He was like, I remember when we all went to the mall, and, you know, like things are like when all the kids were going to the mall and spending their time there. I was like, this makes perfect sense. So.
And what was perfect was there was that element too, that yes, they're coming into their own and they're having the mall experience, but the mall was also new for them. The mall was newly opened. And so although it was new for the audience and new for the characters, all of it was new and fresh. And it set up the standard for what, and that's the thing each season has. They have the standard of where you're going to see people, and you find out real quick where the setting is going to be, how it's going to vibe, and they do that world building so well.
Mm-hmm.
With season 4, it was knowing that you got the people in California, and you got the group in Hawkins, but they all have their main place that they usually go to.
You also have you don't have the question get asked a lot of where were their parents during all this. They did a great job of setting up where the parents were. Like, the parents had jobs. The parents were gone doing this. The parents were doing that. We even checked in on the parents every once in a while, which to me was very Ferris Bueller-y to me, which that's another 80s thing. So it really did work very well. They didn't really, it was one of those, we talk about this a lot when we talk about Marvel. Nothing was left to guess. Nothing was done unintentionally. Like, the perfect example is that clip you showed us, Brian. I didn't think about that until you played it. Like, that could have been a setup for Vecna. Like, but were they thinking Vecna back then? Maybe not. But
No.
did they go back and watch their own thing and go, hey, we played like some chimes when Will got abducted, and we had this but we didn't show that it was a Demogorgon. We just showed a silhouette for a very brief second. That could have been Vecna. Let's do that was Vecna, and nothing was left to chance. They left stuff open enough to where it's like, hey, no one's gonna really pull it apart because you can't.
I will say, you were mentioning the parents. There is a character I hate more than Mike Wheeler, and that's Mike Wheeler's dad.
It's Mike Wheeler's dad.
Someone needs to take a frying pan and hit that man in the face. He is the definition of everything wrong with.
But see, the thing is, the parents were so on, with the exclusion of Winona, but with her character, the parents were so on point for 80s parents, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was that was during the time of the go work 9 to 5, buy a house, buy a car, live the American dream. You get that in a lot of the 80s, movies and shows and stuff like that. So they were very on point for that. The problem is that since they weren't just going to let you go, where's their parents during all this? They had to show you where they were, and that made Mike's dad really come out to be a bit of an a-hole.
He was. He didn't give a crap about nothing. He didn't listen to nothing. He's just a mindless drone. He was just such a yes man. Like, oh my God. The way that they were able to was it the Hawkins people? I can't remember. Someone was coming in and they were just giving him this whole narrative, and he was just, because it was, you need to do your American duty, he was just buying everything they were selling. And us, the audience, knows that every word they're saying is bullcrap. And we're just watching him fall for all of it because that's who he is. He doesn't think for himself.
It was when the Russians were pretending to be Americans, wasn't it?
that could have been. I couldn't remember exactly, but he was just so mindless. But
you're right. The crew.
Oh my God, the Hellfire Club. Yes,
and as it evolved, because this is still like 4 of the main characters right here in the center of this photo, or 3 of the main characters in the center of this photo. But then you also have Lucas's sister becomes not just a character, a plot point. She becomes a plot point
literally
in the show. It was amazing. It was very.
I love that you brought up the Hellfire Club. First of all, because we're wearing our Hellfire Club shirts. Yes. But that really captured. We were talking earlier about how some of the stuff that happens at the Hawkins laboratory is based on some factual stuff that's actually happened. The stuff that happens with Eddie Munson and the way the town perceives the Hellfire Club is also based on true stories. I can't remember the guy's name. I can't remember the guy's name, but there was actually a guy who I believe he was killed for just being a nerd loving D&D, but people's fear of it, them not understanding it, they turned it into this whole devil worship thing. And of course, like people like that would do, just like Eddie Munson did, they just embrace the fact, yeah, fine, I worship the devil, fine, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
They just embrace the rumor.
Yeah.
And
so we have a few things about that, and I love that you brought this up, because this was my favorite thing about Stranger Things 4 was the Satanic Panic representation, because I've watched documentaries on it, I've listened to podcasts about Satanic Panic. This was, you're right, 100% truly accurate. Now, the story goes is that there was this investigator, supposedly, that was investigating the disappearance of this young man who went down into some tunnels, some sub tunnels in his city or whatever, and he wound up dying. Sad, tragic, very. The problem is that the guy writing the piece made it seem like he went down there to play Dungeons and Dragons, when, first of all, not true. Second of all, that had nothing to do with it. Like, yes, they did do that before. That's why he knew where it was. Right. the fact also that the Church of Satan came into establishment around this time was also the other thing, because, and historical fun fact, they don't worship the Bible's version of the devil, which is actually pretty interesting. Go and look that up if you don't believe me, but it's true. It's not like, oh, there's this whole religion based around this guy being the bad guy, we're going to go worship the good guy or the bad guy. No, it's someone completely different. They have their own idea of what Satan is. So yes, satanic panic was real. The fear was real because it changed the norm, which we're seeing that a lot now in 2023. There's things that are challenging the status quo, and, you know, not to get political or anything, but it scares people.
Yeah.
And so it also in that way was a representation of real life then and real life now.
Mm-hmm.
So Eddie Munson, I did a quick Google search, his character is loosely based on the real life man Damien Eccles, who was a former death row to now magic master. Damien Eccles was a teenager when he was wrongfully convicted of killing 3 boys in a satanic ritual in Arkansas in 1993. Yes. He spent 18 years on death row facing execution, isolation, and abuse while maintaining his innocence and studying magic.
All because of the satanic panic.
Exactly. He was a completely innocent person, but because he had his own views, their panic made them wrongfully convicted. And that means that there was someone that killed those people, but because people wanted to link it to something that wasn't true, the real justice was never found.
Nope. Mm-hmm. Look at the scene where I can't even remember his name because he was such a I don't care character. But look at when the teenager, Chrissy's boyfriend, essentially in Stranger Things,
the jock guy,
walks into the town hall meeting, and he essentially convinces them all that Eddie Munson worships the devil, that he probably sacrificed Chrissy, that they need to go on a manhunt. It's like, that's how brainwashing worked back then, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
It didn't take LSD like in season 1, like that whole thing that actually happened.
Right.
It took just having conviction and getting up and saying it and playing off of people's fears, which the flip side of that is also the main villain of the story for 4 and the villain for the whole thing. That's exactly what Vecna does. Vecna uses your fear to control you and then kill you. It all comes full circle. It's amazing.
And so with Eddie Munson, there was a real threat that was like right under people's noses, but they wanted to take someone who was actually fighting against that threat and make him the threat.
Yep.
And even at the end of the season, like, the town collectively still sees Eddie Munson as the villain. And I broke down crying when Dustin sat with Eddie Munson's uncle and was like, I know he wasn't a terrible person. He was a great guy. Like,
I'm already getting
he was
sad
a
thinking
hero.
Everything about their relationship. I think this goes into the connection, though, if you think of how satanic panic and all this going in, like, to the whole spectrum of this. It's the whole idea of people aren't always as they seem. Mm-hmm. And, it's the whole concept of, like, get to know somebody, don't judge a book by its cover kind of concept. And the fact that, people can look at the quarterback jock who's, Mr. Popular and doing all this stuff and automatically believe him. But yet the true nice person of the whole entire series was literally Eddie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just like, you see this contrast of being just like, all it took was just a conversation with somebody, which is something I love. And yeah, the whole oh gosh, I'm just like, I'm going into my own wormhole.
I am so mad that we were robbed of a beautiful relationship that could have been.
Right. Well, and just the whole concept of like, he could tell something was wrong. And all he kind of did was like, hey, you okay? Let me make you laugh. Let's have a little like chit chat time. Let's get you out of your head and just have a connection.
She kind of bought into the fear too, because people had this persona of who they thought he was, and then she hangs out with him for 10 minutes, and she's like, "This guy's fucking hilarious." And they had a great time.
Exactly.
And if it wasn't for Vecna pulling some evil strings in the back, they could have had a long, nice life, been happy.
Could have been
Yeah,
so
but
happy together.
But
I
if that
felt like
had-
my gut was ripped out when she died.
But if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't
Oh.
have gotten that bop of a song, the whole Chrissy
The
Wake
Chrissy
Up.
Wake
Chrissy
Up.
Wake Up. I don't like this.
Very true. Very true. We wouldn't have the TikTok sensations that it is.
Yeah. I saw an animated version that I was like, oh, this is well done. This is very well done.
Another great aspect of this show is all of these characters that are fighting against this evil threat. None of them have like super special skill other than Hopper being a cop. None of them really have special skills that make them the hero. It's their heart going into it. They have this will to, they know something wrong is going on and they want to fight against it. And against the odds, they win, or at least almost win. I would say toward the end of season 4, they mostly lost, but
yeah, no, yeah. I'm interested on where 5's going to pick up.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean,
if it doesn't start with the Doomslayer coming down from Mars, or at least being referenced, because Doom was released in the 80s. So I need Doomslayer to be referenced at least once. That would be great.
But the characters, even if the last season they fought against these things and they won, the next season they still take the threat seriously. They're still like,
yes,
I don't want to go into the Upside Down. Yeah, we won last time, but that could have been luck. But still, they know that they're the only ones that believe this. They know they can't just go and tell people they're not going to believe them. So they're the only things that can stop it. A bunch of kids, a couple young adults, and a cop and a mom that lost her shit.
A cop that doesn't want to die, a mom that believes in the supernatural enough to actually, spend some energy on it. A group of kids that had at least a basic level of knowledge of D&D, and one superpowered chick and a one rebel chick, because that's Max, because she kind of brought them all full circle. Like you needed the barbarian of the group, and that was Max, 100%.
100%.
And then I really, the only other person that I felt like had a superpower, like a real skill, was Mike's sister, the journalist.
Oh, Nancy.
Oh, Nancy.
Yeah, she because she actually used her skill into the 4th installment, because that's what she wanted to do. She's
an investigator. Yeah,
right.
She loves looking for what is happening.
Right. So that skill,
honestly,
Steve's skill of being a nice guy, So.
Well, Steve's skill is also smashing bats.
Yeah. and look, Steve is a prop master. He took a bat and wrapped some barbed wire around it, not even knowing if it was going to work, and it worked. It was good.
Sorry, got distracted.
Yeah, I bet.
Daydream a little bit.
I do want to bring up one other this is like a very small detail, but I feel like it really brought this show together. So we're talking about how it melded with the 80s. It gives you that 80s vibe, right? I don't think that would have been as noticeable if it hadn't been for the product placement that they used in this show. Because not only did they only use products that were popular in the 80s, they made sure that every can, every box, every bag of any products that were shown on screen looked like they did back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I was just like, oh, that's awesome. Like, that's like Mountain Dew doesn't look like that anymore because branding changes over the years.
Yep.
Pepsi, all these things, unless they've just been like, don't mess, don't fix what ain't broken. All of those companies have changed how they design their packaging and their logos in the past 2 years. So to be able to craft that and bring it onto screen, and it's the direct opposite of the Game of Thrones where there's a Starbucks cup in one shot.
They made sure every minuscule detail, like when you turn on the screen to watch season 1 through season 4, you're not going to see anything that's not found in the 80s. The cars, the way the buildings were made, the style of the logos on signs for buildings, down to the logos on a Pepsi can. Like all of that is accurate to the times.
And
One
a lot
thing
of it
I
was
told-
practical. That's the other thing too. Like even when Disney does that now, it's CGI, right? It's computer generated imaging. No, for Stranger Things, a lot of it was practical. And that's enough. That look, it's a labor of love, man. It's a project of love, and I love it so much.
There was also, before I watched Stranger Things, I was always hearing people talk about it, and there was this thing I always heard when I watched it was immediately disproven, that no one could agree which time this actually took place. That there was like debate about it, but they literally say what time it takes place. So I didn't understand that conversation. People were like, is it in the 80s? Is it in the 70s? It's in the 80s.
Yeah,
that was a conversation I heard going on when season 1 first came out, because people talked about this a lot. It was buzzing when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess they just weren't talking about it so much that I didn't know what the Mind Flayer was in that person's yard. But you know,
well, and to go along with like the product placement and whatnot, I think I'm gonna pull a J and say the costuming choice for everybody,
100%,
phenomenal. Like there wasn't
and
one thing that
hairstyles
you kind of looked at. Like yeah, exactly. I was like, I mean, Pizza Guy. I love Pizza Guy.
I love him
like,
so much.
Every piece of clothing that you see them wearing is 100% accurate to times. And nothing is kind of slightly like, I mean, they could have done better. Or like, oh, I don't know if that works. Like, everything that I saw anybody wearing throughout the show was spot on. I mean, even the doctors and whatnot in the little facility that Eleven's at, like even their clothing, like the way that they wore their pants and had their belts, and like, okay, so it just goes right back into this whole like satanic panic and stuff. That's also when they actually had asylums, you know. It's things like that where I'm like, this is literally what they thought. And it's just the costuming for this show is
it was
just
amazing,
let alone the whole like special effects stuff too. Like,
I love their friendship.
Yes.
Oh, 11 and Max, no,
I was so happy when Max was like, that Mike guy ain't good for you. I was like, yes, Max, you fucking tell her.
I loved every bit of this show. Like there's not, I can't sit down and watch all 4 installments and find really anything wrong with it. There's no plot holes that I found, and if there are any, don't point them out to me.
Don't ruin my happiness.
When they're coming, what I tell people when they're coming new to it is give it a chance further than just a few episodes, because for me at least, I was not hooked even halfway through season 1.
Right.
So it is, and this is my only stipulation I would say against the show. I think every show should capture you quickly.
Yes.
Because a lot of ADHD brains, if you're trying to watch something and it's not enticing you right away, there's a good chance you won't ever get to where it gets really good. And so what I tell people is, if you're watching it for the first time and you're not feeling like you're going to like it, just try to stick it out, because it gets really freaking good.
Look, just wait for season 5 to come out, okay? Because that's when Walmart's probably going to bring back the Surfer Boy pizzas, okay?
Yes.
Go buy a Surfer Boy pizza, okay? And pop it in and start with season 1 and give it a real shot.
I want to know where they get the meat for that Surfer Boy pizza, because that 3 meat or 4 meat one, oh my God. Every bite was fucking heaven.
You can't knock it till you try it, brah.
Well, okay, so I love Argyle. He's my stoner hero. Love him.
Love him to death.
But I still am against pineapple on pizza.
Don't knock the za, brah. Don't knock the za.
But also, that's another aspect of, like, you guys know me, I'm stoner energy, so I love the stoner vibes of this show too. Like, it's not like shoved down your throat, which some things kind of do, but it's very casual, as it is in life. People smoke when they're feeling stressed.
Can I tell you that when I first watched it, I was immediately like, oh, this is a serious version of the That 70s Show Around the Table like thing. Like, this is that, but not comedy. It's for serious. Like, that's how well they did it, though, because even in That 70s Show, they could never mention that it was actually marijuana or the devil's lettuce or whatever you want to call it.
You always knew, though.
But you always knew. So and they kind of did that.
The stash, the bag, the stuff.
Exactly. And they did that here in Stranger Things. It was never in your face like, hey, you're a pothead. Like even what's his name? What's his brother?
Jonathan.
Jonathan, when people talk about him, it's not that he's a pothead. It's not that he's, wasting his life. But there's always those certain key phrases where it's like, oh, he's a stoner and you don't like it. But I mean, come on. He lose his brother. So,
when Chrissy and Eddie were hanging out, that was a deal going on.
It literally was.
She was so stressed because Vecna was messing with her head. She wanted something to relieve.
Yep. 100%.
Guys,
I can't gush anymore about this show. I
got one more thing to gush about. Eddie Munson's guitar solo.
Yes.
Can I tell you, I never screamed so loud out of excitement from just a TV show that I literally was like, yes!
I have cost plans to make that guitar. And to get the bandana and to get the vest, and that is going to be this cosplay's final form. But my favorite thing from that whole scene, right, actually came a month after the show. Seeing the toxic people online going, imagine not knowing what Metallica is until you watch Stranger Things, or imagine all these new fans wanting to be Metallica fans when we've been real fans the whole time. It's like,
and Metallica's like, fuck you
guys. And then
guys.
Metallica's like, we'll accept all fans. Thank you very much. Like, just
like taps
don't
excuse me.
Shut down the toxicity, shut it up, and then shut it down. Like Metallica was even like, yeah, we don't feel the same way you do. Like,
so Bear, do you remember the name of the artist that made this? Because this is just absolutely beautiful.
I do not, but I know where you can purchase it. You can purchase it from Pixel Empire. My friend Chase, he works with them and he knows the artist. And yeah, you can get it from Pixel Empire. If you're interested, message us. I'll send you the link. I'm not going to put it in the episode description because I don't have permission. But yeah, great
check that out. That's one of my favorite prints I got. Yeah,
the solo, and when that song started playing, of course, because I'm a karaoke guy and I sing Metallica a lot. That song, no, but so when I heard the riff start, I was like, oh, it's Master of Puppets. Oh, it's Master of Puppets. I'm so excited.
Can I tell you how I almost ruined this for myself, but I still didn't ruin it for myself because when it happened, like, it still was amazing. So my coworker and I were really big into, like, we were watching every episode. The next day we were coming into work. We were talking about it. Like, we were just going on and on and on. And we were like, why don't we just listen to the soundtrack? Like, we're just like, we love music.
Yeah.
And so, but then once we start realizing, like, what's going to happen, because we have all the Facebook feeds, we have all the updates of everything. So, like, what's to come, what's to expect. So, like, we're spoiling things for ourselves in our own way. But also, so when we went and looked at the soundtrack, we literally every day was like, it could be this one.
Yeah.
What if it's this one? For every single song. And then we finally started coming to the realization that it probably was Puppet Master. But then, like, we also, like, when I say when it happened, both of us came into work the next day just like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, 100%. Like, look, Metallica used it in their show. Like, it's really good if Metallica's like, yeah, they did something with our song we haven't been able to do. We're going to use it.
Right.
It was amazing. I mean, but Metallica's also done a metal version of the Pokemon theme.
Joseph Quinn, who plays Eddie Munson, he actually got to rock out to that with Metallica. There's a video you can look up. Pause, go look it up before you finish this episode because, oh my God, that is just so awesome because he loves Metallica. Metallica is a fan of the show. Like, it all just worked out.
Yeah, it's not just one of the agents got permission to use the song.
Right.
Like, it was like, when they used it, it was like, oh, we got to see what they used it for. Oh, this? Oh, yeah, no, totally. Let's do it. Like, There are interviews upon interviews. You can go read about it. Like for this
Yeah.
show.
All you gotta do is type in Metallica, Stranger Things. Videos will pop up.
Yeah.
Boom.
And it inspired an emote. That scene inspired the emote in Fortnite that you can play Master of Puppets.
One of
It's
the best emotes ever. Because Fortnite does this thing where some of the emotes, people can walk up to you and join in on the emotes. You can have 4 people rocking out as a full band to Master of Puppets. It's
amazing.
Incredible.
It's so well done. So well done. Well, guys, I think I've brought up all I can bring about Stranger Things. Look, if you're looking for a new show to start here. Start Stranger Things 1. You got a few months until the 5th season comes out, so it's not like we're telling you a month, ahead of time. You don't have to cram it in. Just watch it. Watch it. Highly recommend.
Agreed.
3 out of 5 stars wouldn't change a thing. I don't have anything else for this show other than ratings, but we always do ratings after the Talking Nerdy. So if y'all don't have anything else, let's get into that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Each episode, the Bear and the Beard ask a question that they want your input on, along with sharing comments, suggestions, and other things they have already collected. They love to hear from their fans, so let's get nerdy with it.
All right. Before we get to our Talking Nerdy for this week and for last episode, I have a merch announcement. We have keychains now.
Yeah,
keychains that you can get from us at any public event. Come to a con, come to the trunk or treat. We'll have them there. They are very high quality. Sticker Mule makes a great product. We had some pins. We sold out of those that we didn't even get a chance to announce them before we ran out. So we will get more of those in stock, but we do have the keychains now for Beer to Bear Entertainment. Come and pick you up one of those at a public event. Last episode, Surviving the Fall of the Order, we asked y'all a question, and that question was, what planet would you like to visit in the Star Wars universe? I said Hoth, because I like it cold and I want to ride a Tauntaun. Beard said Coruscant, but when it's safe. Ed Nerd Squatch said Galaxy's Edge or the planet Batu, which Galaxy's Edge, being in Florida, is an actual canon planet for the Star Wars universe. So that's where he wanted to go. And we asked you, but while I'm pulling up y'all's responses, Mickey, you weren't a part of that episode. What planet would you like to visit in the Star Wars universe if you had a chance?
See, you're asking someone who is terrible with names and knows them by descriptors. So
describe it to me. I'll come up with the name.
Or what I'm actually doing is I'm looking up my actual things because they have pictures next to them and that's helpful. So that's what we're gonna go with. Now I just feel weird. Here we are.
No, that we do that
all the time. Okay, so maybe this is just gonna sound really strange, but it reminds me of home. I'd have to say Tatooine because I grew up in a desert. There's just something about it that almost like I like the old stucco-y buildings and things like that. So it just reminded me of home, in its own way. But I really did. That's probably what I would choose.
Tatooine's not a bad choice at all.
Not a bad choice at all.
As long as you stay away from the crime on Tatooine. I mean, there's crime on all the planets.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
Exactly.
We had our friend Llama said, Llama no talk this language. So we did not get a response really from Llama on what planet. And then our friend John said, I think Dagobah would remind me too much of Louisiana. So I'd probably have to go with Naboo. So that's a good one.
Naboo is very beautiful.
Yes, very, very beautiful planet. If you don't like sand, which we know that the characters, at least one of the characters that visited Naboo, did not like the sand there. Then
Anakin doesn't like the sand on Tatooine.
Oh, on Tatooine, okay.
He
And then
because it reminds him of the sand. Yeah,
right. We also had our buddy Keith Cooper from Blurtish, shout out, said he just wants to go to the safest, most tropical one that has a space resort. I don't know which one that is, but
That
I don't think there's necessarily a resort, but I would say Naboo is very safe during non-war times.
Yeah.
And if you consider going to the Gungan world under the water, a resort, then I mean,
Then there you go.
Naboo might be the place for you, Keith.
Yep. Our friend Greg, fellow bear fan, said indoor would be nice. The Ewoks are like tiny teddy bears. So just don't paint yourself gold and pretend to be their god, and I think you'll be all right.
Living on a moon might be nice.
Denise D. Nice from the Monday Cinema Club said Tatooine, she's trying to get funky at that Mos Eisley Cantina. And our friend Alex, who's been on the show before, a huge Star Wars fan, said Mandalore, but pre-Empire and pre-Scorch. So I kind of gotta go with you on that one too. That's a nice selection. Thank you all so much for getting with us on that. And I think we're gonna ask no question this week because we already had one that was kind of answered in the bonus episode. So we'll just give you a preview of that. So we did ask online, not in an episode, I don't believe. We asked the question of what's your favorite Halloween movie or horror film or spooky season film and stuff like that. And we do have a lot of responses for that will be in the bonus episode. But this one got in a little late, but it describes the very being of the question very well. And it comes from our friends over at the Nerd Coliseum podcast. Please go and check them out. And it says, haha, picking a favorite Halloween movie is like choosing a favorite candy from a trick-or-treat bag. Impossible. I love the quirkiness of Beetlejuice, the thrill of Fright Night, and don't even get me started on the slasher films or the classics. It's a cinematic candy cornucopia. Hope this adds a spooky touch to your content. Thank you so much, Coliseum. We really appreciate you guys. We actually had them as part of one of our Talking Nerdy lives for our Patreon subscribers. Y'all can go check that out. They were a great addition, and we are hoping to work with them much more in the future. We have some ideas. So definitely go and check that out when it comes out Tuesday. That is the Bear and the Beard 4th annual Halloween special featuring Little Oso cosplay and Squatch Talk with Jay. And no question this week. So let's get back out of here and back to that episode.
Be sure to send in your response to this week's Talk Nerdy topic and any other nerdy stuff like episode topic suggestions, fan theories, or cosplay photos so we can put it in future episodes. If you think it's nerdy, we want you to share it. The Talk Nerdy links like the email and website are in the episode description as always. And don't forget you can also call or text the Nerd line. That number is in the description as well. That's all for now. Let's get back to the show.
Back.
So I actually came up with a request as soon as the outro started playing. I think I do know what we needed for this. We want your Halloween costume photos. That's I feel send those in. Send those in.
Yeah.
We'll do a post where you can post them as comments. Send those in for our next episode. We would love to see what you nerds dressed up as for Halloween.
Absolutely.
I think that would be great. We'll even share some of our own when it comes to that part of our next episode, which is
Halloween
all about
decorations.
Or decorations.
Ooh.
Yes. Show it. Send us all the spooky.
Or both.
All the spooky. Or both.
Halloween vibes.
Or both.
Send us
All
your
the
Halloween
vibes.
vibes.
And that'll kind of get us ready for preserving Halloween in November. So that'll be fun. And our next episode will be all about Ahsoka. And if I know this to be true, it's going to be hosted by the Council of the Last Wind. Is that right?
So this will be, it won't be our first episode of our podcast that will be coming in January, but this will be an introduction episode to what you can expect from the Council of the Life Wind. Cohen will be on that as well. My younger brother, who's going to be the third co-host of that show. Although he has not seen Ahsoka, he's seen plenty of the spoilers and still wants to talk a little bit about Ahsoka from Clone Wars and in Rebels a little bit. So it's going to be a whole lot of nerdy talk all about Ahsoka.
It's going to be great. And then our next episode after that, Mickey will be coming back. We're going to be talking Loki after Ahsoka, because by then Loki will be done for season 2. We're going to reach back out into the multiverse and try to reach just on the other side of that sacred timeline and grab us a Loki variant and pull them back to interview them about this show. This should be really, really fun when we do get a chance to talk about it. I'm loving it so far. Let's get to
another episode tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Right?
Well,
or
yesterday when this comes out, we loved it, didn't we?
Yeah. I can honestly say I probably did. So I don't think they can do any wrong for me at this point. Let's get to ratings. Wrap this episode up. Put it in the bag. Brian, out of 10 beards, how many beards do you give Stranger Things as a whole? As a franchise?
I'm going to give a 9.5 out of 10.
Okay. That's high praise coming from the beard.
That 0.5 is simply because Mike Wheeler's a jerk and Mike Wheeler's dad is useless. I really hope in season 5 I get a better mic.
You won't. It's fine. You won't. It's fine. Mickey, since you were the guest here, we have mics for you. Out of 10 mics. Which is funny because Mike.
I know. Now he said that, and I'm just sitting here like, should I give it only 9 mics because of Mike? But no, mine is very, very high, and I say that because, and Bear knows this about me. When I go over ratings, I never give anything a perfect score, and I'm still not going to do it. But I am going to put this at a 9.8.
Ooh.
When I say like gush over this show with anyone who will talk to me about it, I jump on everything. I jump into every little detail that I can. It's so easy to fall into, and it's really a fan for anybody. Like, you have your nerds, you have your horror, you have your geek out things. It's fantastic. It's so fantastic.
It's easier to get into this show than it is to get into the Upside Down in season 4. So I mean, they had to actually climb on top of stuff. So yeah,
exactly.
No, for mine, it's Bear Paws, and I'm solid 10. I really can't think of anything to take away. It's a solid 10 out of 10 Bear Paws for me. And that's the show. Please go and watch it. And if you don't, hey, that's fine. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. But no, we don't judge anyone's personal preferences.
You're missing out on a fantastic show that you could have otherwise
enjoyed. And if you did
enjoyed.
watch it and you didn't like it, that's fine too. That's okay. But we really liked it. We hope you do too if you haven't watched it. And if you did watch it, let us know what your ratings are too. Let us know what you thought about it. And I think that's going to do it for us. Check out the next episode all about Ahsoka, and come and see us at our events that we talked about at the beginning of the episode. If you've made it this far on YouTube without liking this video and subscribing to us, please do so. Do it. Stormtrooper. Do it. Call back to last episode. And definitely be on the lookout Tuesday for that bonus episode again coming at you. The 4th annual Halloween special will be coming out Tuesday morning. In the meantime, we're going to get out of here. I've been the Bear.
I've been the Beard.
And we want to thank Mickey for being here, obviously.
I was going to say, and I'm the Mickey.
And we remind you, as always, to stay awesome,
stay bearded,
and
much love.
We'll see y'all next episode. Until then, we are out of here.
Boom, cut the check.
That was totally wicked! Thanks for checking out another Bearded Bear Entertainment production. New episodes of this show are released every other Friday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, in both audio and video format. Audio episodes are available pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts, and YouTube is the only place for video format.
For listeners, subscribe on your app so your device downloads it automatically, and for viewers, subscribe and click that little bell so you're notified about all our new nerdy content. Also, don't forget to follow us on our socials.
Facebook,
Instagram, and
TikTok
are all great places to interact with us.
Many thanks to the rest of our team, all of our geeks of the round table, and all of our awesome friends of the cast. Much love, y'all. Lastly, for more cool music like this awesome outro track, go check out HarlequinSoul, Secret Apex on Facebook and Spotify. His links are in the description as well.
Talk at you next episode, nerds.